Howdy. My phone keeps slipping. That's rude. How are you truly? I hope you're well. I've been well too. I've been a bit sick actually, but you always have I always get a lot from being sick, even though it sucks and it doesn't feel good. There's just something incredibly beneficial about being forced to do absolutely nothing and just sit in your own misery. I just get a lot from that, and had some great realizations. What did I do? I started off solid. I was reading a new book on my phone, which I've recently discovered that I actually don't mind reading off my phone on Apple Books. I'm reading Nassim Taleb's book Anti-Fragile, which, started off good. And then I decided to learn the lyrics to Fergalicious, like the bridge part, because I thought that I've always wanted to learn that and it would be fun, a fun thing to whip out if it was ever playing. And then I started watching this TV series called Sex Life, which is, I believe, only available in the US, but with a VPN, then you can watch it too. So as you can see, it just got more and more lowbrow, but nonetheless a great time and very grateful for the experience. I don't know why I'm telling this story, but I wanted to talk today more about work, of course, because that's kind of my thing at the moment. It's what I'm thinking about. I was thinking about the fact that a lot of businesses fail, and that really sucks. And I was like, I wonder if I'm going to fail. I thought that too. And then I started thinking of this idea, well, why do businesses fail? And there's plenty of people solving this problem, to help your business not to fail. Agencies, marketing agencies, strategists, mentors, promising the world, I will help you build a multi-million-dollar empire. Yet we still see so many businesses fail. And I see a common statistic thrown around, 80%, 90% of businesses fail in the first year. That is actually false. Couldn't find that statistic anywhere. I don't know where people, got that from. But it seems to be not a true statistic. The true statistic is that 50% of businesses survive beyond the 5-year mark. So only 50% of businesses make it beyond 5 years. So that's still, a very disappointing statistic. Not as disappointing as 80% or 90%, whatever it is that people are saying, but nonetheless disappointing. So I thought, why? Why is it that businesses fail? And of course, like anything, there's no one reason. There's a lot of gray. There's a spectrum. There's multiple variables, multiple reasons, all coming together for a big fat failure. But I do see one thing that is pretty obvious that I think that people overlook because it's a bit more, not woo-woo. Wouldn't say it's woo-woo. I would just say it's a bit more fluffy. It's a bit more fluffy. It's not solid. It's not solid Facebook data, even though that's hardly solid anymore. It's a bit more up to interpretation. Anyway, let's just get to the point. I think that, so I should say first, people try and solve for businesses not working with business related solutions, right? But they're obviously not very effective. So I was like, well, you can't really solve a non-business related problem with business solutions such as improving the product, increasing the marketing, improving sales, whatever. So what is the problem then? And if it's not a business problem, well, I believe that it is a people don't understand themselves enough problem, and also our perspective of the reality of work is warped / we approach work wrong. Let me explain. So I've spoken about this before. Like, I see the problem as a holistic one. So in order to create a business that can last and stand the test of time and last beyond that 5-year mark, you've got to have an underlying reason why. And Simon Sinek has a whole book around this. So there's obviously something to it. Amazing book, by the way. Highly recommend reading. But he talks to this notion that businesses need an underlying why. Think of the biggest brands. The best example that everyone uses is Apple. Like, he talks about in the book that Apple products aren't necessarily the best tech. Like, they're amazing, but like if you were to compare tech, all the tech elements, which I have no idea about, to another brand of computer, they wouldn't be the best. But it's because Apple have this underlying why and this really strong brand presence that people buy into the brand. It's not just about the products. Yes, the products are beautiful, but it's about the brand that Apple has created around the products and their overall why. In a lot of cases, these whys for these businesses start off, in the early days. Like, if you're starting a business right now, it's just you. And so that why is developed as a result of you. And so you really need to be clear on that. And I see the easiest way to do that is by understanding yourself and becoming really besties with yourself, really, and really knowing and understanding yourself. And if you do that, then you're more likely to create work and go down a route in business that is highly aligned to what you value and what inspires you and what you want to genuinely create because you're obsessed with it. And if you can find that path and go down that path, then your likelihood of having success has just like 10x'd. Seriously. Because so many people start businesses for the sake of starting businesses and because something's trending at a particular time, or, so just think of like the drop shipping era. Like, everyone jumped on that bandwagon, and it would be interesting to see how many of those brands are still around, because I'm guessing whatever product they were selling, they didn't give a shit about. They didn't really create a meaningful brand around the product, and they totally lost interest and inspiration. So it is now dead and non-existent on the internet. And we all know that to really reap the benefits and have financial success, you need to be around for a long time so you can have the benefits of compound interest. So if we think that, if you buy into this idea that, it's an effective use of your time to really understand yourself and become besties with yourself and know what you genuinely like and are interested in and obsessed with, so you can hopefully get on a path to doing work and business that's aligned to that, so that you can make sure you're setting yourself up to have longevity and you don't get over it in 5 seconds. And then nothing great is ever created and no great wealth is built when you're constantly chopping and changing ideas or businesses or work every 5 seconds. Well, every year, no, nothing revolutionary great is created when you're constantly changing. So if you buy into that and you're willing to put in the time to get to know yourself, some questions I ask myself to help me get closer to, I'm still figuring this shit out. Anything I share it's not a prescription. It's literally me just talking shit. But some of the questions I asked myself was in a broad sense. What do I want my life to look like? Where do I want to live? How many hours do I want to work? How much do I want to be earning or need to be earning to feel free from money? What do my relationships look like? How do I want to love? How do I want to spend my weekends? What do I want my work to look like? How many hours do I want to work? What does my schedule look like? Do I want to have a solo business or build out a large team? What does my week include? What am I actually working on in the business? How do I want to feel? Calm, patient, present. What do my thoughts look like? What traits and characteristics do I have? And then specifically, if you're at the very start, honestly, well, yeah, you can be wherever you are in your journey. If this relates, it relates. But I've been through this before, which is the Venn diagram. So specifically, you want to look at what hard skills you have, what skills can you use to offer the most value in the marketplace? What are your soft skills? What do you genuinely enjoy? What are you inspired by? What are you obsessed with? Irrationally obsessed with is always a good one. And what are any challenges or triumphs you've been through? So these are questions that I ponder frequently and that I've written out, and that I think the more clear and specific you can get, it serves as a really strong filter for you to look through when you're making decisions as to what work you create and what avenue you go down in terms of business and work. So yeah, super valuable. I've gotten a lot from them. I've also I've written out an anti-vision, which I shared in a previous episode, which you can go and check out. But writing down what you don't want your life to look like and what your life would look like if you were miserable and like hated it, that's like a really strong thing to do. And another thing that has been really powerful for me and pivotal, I would say, probably like the main thing that I've done, is started a meditation practice. So I've been doing my meditation practice for 12 months now. Every morning I've probably missed like 1 or 2 mornings, and sometimes it's guided, sometimes it's literally just sitting there and doing nothing and just existing. And the guided ones I use are by Joe Dispenza, in case you were wondering. And this practice and doing this every morning has allowed me, I just think it's so invaluable having that time alone, just like taking the time off from the world. It's still going to go on around you. You're not missing anything. Taking the time out to sit with yourself and seeing what comes up. Because when you listen to what's coming up, you learn a lot about yourself. And you're like, oh, interesting. And I can't imagine not doing that now. It's pretty crazy. Like, I'm like, wow, I never used to, like, I must have been struggling because it's just such a mind dump for me now, that meditation practice. And it has allowed me to really start to form this relationship with myself, which, you know, in a selfish way is the most important relationship, because if you don't have a good relationship with yourself and understand yourself, know what makes you tick, know what you know, what traits aren't the best, you can't show up for anyone else. And you're probably going to be a shit time, to be honest. So yeah, really prioritizing that relationship with yourself and getting to know yourself. I know we're going a little bit on a tangent because we're talking about why businesses fail, but like, people fail. People, you know, behind a business is the person who started it and the person that's responsible for driving its growth and its success. And so, you know, I'm not talking to people here behind massive companies. Like, we're talking small businesses, mostly one person solopreneur businesses. So that relationship with self is so critical. And the more you develop it, the more that you can make sure you're on the right path in terms of your work and doing work that's highly aligned, so you can experience as least friction as possible. You're going to have challenges. It's going to be hard. Like, you're not choosing an easy route by starting your own one-person business, not at all. But the hard will be a lot easier to push through, as opposed to the hard where you're just so not invested and you don't care and you don't like the product and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Makes sense? Hope so. So yeah, having a good relationship with yourself is key. And it's yeah. And like I said, a great filter to allow you to determine where you want to spend your time and energy, and the most leverage place to spend your time and energy. And if you're like way at the start and you're not clear about where you want to go, Maybe you're in a job and you're just like hating it, and you know you're going to move on to something else, but you have no idea. Yeah, expose yourself and learn, and get on YouTube and learn about different avenues and different business models, or maybe different skills that you want to acquire, for sure. But I would say even before that, like, sit with yourself and ask those questions. Like, I think the Venn diagram is the best place to start. Like, what are your hard skills, soft skills? But then what are you genuinely interested in? What really inspires you? Like, what do you do in your free time that's play for you and work for others? What are you constantly thinking about? What do you watch on YouTube? What do you listen to on podcasts? What's like your most favorite book ever? Like, asking those questions and really getting to know yourself, I think, is the most efficient thing you could do. And I stumbled, and I've always been interested in like really getting to know myself, weirdly, even as a younger kid. So I've always kind of been aware of that. But that is something I would have focused on sooner had I known the benefits. So you can see that approaching business and creating businesses purely by thinking of like, oh, that's a cool product, and like, what are the margins like, and how could I market it, and blah, blah, blah. What's the lifetime value of the customer? Is it a repeat purchase product? Like, all of that. You can see that to have great success and to have it all, really, have the successful business and make great money, but also enjoy and feel fulfilled in what you're doing, you have to take a holistic approach and ask yourself these questions and get to know yourself. It will allow for a much enjoyable time and better relationship with work, but it will also increase the likelihood that you are not one of those businesses that drop off at the 5-year mark and have the success moving forward and can, way outlast 5 years. Like, that's my goal. Like, I don't want to just be around for 5 or 10 years. Like, I want to be around for a lot longer. So the other thing about businesses failing is that obviously as a business owner, you need to continue to learn and to grow. And a lot of people have a lot of resistance to learning and upskilling. Like, think of the corporate environment where they, it's continual professional development, and you have to sign up for like 2 courses a year and do a certain amount of hours. Like, what a snooze fest. So that's like a lot of people's relationship with continuing to learn. And I also think there's this like subconscious belief. I think it's slowly changing, but like, once you've finished at university and you're in your profession, like, dude, I've done my years. Like, I'm done. Because uni, I'm not sure if it was for you, but what a horrifying experience. Because I just put so much pressure on myself. Anyway, that's another story. But it makes sense that after that experience, you're kind of like tapped out. You're like, dude, I'm so done. Like, learning, I've done my years. I'm like, I'm skilled and I'm in my job and blah. But the fact is, learning is a lifelong journey, and taking that approach to learning, I think, will allow you to have great success. And I personally am obsessed with learning. I'm always trying to learn new things. And I'm very grateful for that trait. I used to think, Jess, can't you just chill and turn your brain off for a sec? But like, now I just let it run. It's my curiosity. I'm interested in learning, whatever. I just, I let it be what it is. And anyway, my point is, to be great and to have great success, you have to continue to learn and to grow. It's a lot easier to do that when you're in a field of work that you're genuinely just really curious about and you're interested in and you're obsessed with. So you can see it comes back to, again, really knowing yourself and knowing where to insert yourself in the workforce, or knowing what work to insert yourself into, so that you can set yourself up so that you are motivated to continue to learn and to grow. And not even motivated, like for me, it honestly just happens as a byproduct of existing. Like, I will be walking somewhere and I'll have a YouTube video on about how to grow on YouTube. Like, for example, I will be on a walk and I'll be listening to an audiobook. And, you know, it's usually in the like mindfulness mindset space. And while that's not directly upskilling in the traditional sense, I learn so much from that in a universal sense, which helps me so much in my work. And so taking this approach to learning as well is not so black and white and rather this holistic thing, I think is really important too. But then I'll watch really practical lessons like on YouTube, for example, about marketing or branding and language or design or YouTube, how to start a YouTube channel or whatever it is, writing, copywriting, like, yeah, I really just follow whatever it is that I want to learn. And yeah, YouTube is amazing for that. So the point is, continuing to learn and to grow again comes back to knowing yourself and knowing where you want to invest that time in terms of learning and upskilling. Because you don't just want to learn for the sake of learning. You'll hate learning if you're just learning for the sake of learning. You'll hate the idea of it and you'll hate actually doing it. And then so you won't do it. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. So the last element that I was kind of thinking of as I was thinking of this, why do businesses fail? You know, am I going to be a failure? Was this idea of work-life balance. And, you know, it's commonly discussed. A lot of people discuss work-life balance and it's kind of extremely boring. But it did get me thinking, and it makes sense that a lot of people strive for work-life balance because, including me in the past, like quite in the past, makes sense. I wanted balance because I fucking hated the work that I was doing and it was crushing my soul. So it makes sense. But I think that this strive for work-life balance, we're putting our energy into the wrong thing. Like, I think our energy is better utilized by trying to do work that we actually really like and that's really aligned to what we value and what we're interested in and what we're obsessed about. Because I would argue when we do that and when we are able to be on a path where we genuinely love our work and it's really interesting, that I think this need to find work-life balance becomes less important. And for me personally, this idea of work-life balance kind of shot me in the foot because I was then like being fed this narrative on social media that I needed work-life balance. I was like, oh yeah, like I need work-life balance. So I was putting all this effort into trying to have work-life balance, and it wasn't an efficient use of my time, and it was kind of creating this guilt around work. But I genuinely liked my work and I wanted to do it. So why was I like making myself feel guilty? So it just wasn't very helpful for me. And I found, for me personally, my energy was better spent in, okay, well, let's find work that I don't necessarily need to have work-life balance from, you know, that's a natural integration that I love thinking about. Like, I don't need to limit my brain from thinking about things related to business and work. Maybe sometimes I do. There's no hard and fast rule here, but I just think like it's this work-life balance thing it's just like way overused, dude. Way overused. And my point here is that our energy is better spent elsewhere, and maybe direct all that energy into finding balance, into just putting in the effort to do work that you actually really love and that fills you up in terms of on a soul level and a financial level. So yeah, that was another thing I thought of as well, is this like separation of work and life. It also comes from the observation that a lot of people that have great success, like they're able to, and they're able to work a lot. And maybe especially in those initial years, they put a lot of time and effort into it. And that doesn't mean sitting behind a desk looking at their laptop. It also just means like going on a walk and taking the time to think through and like think of ideas and creative ideas and solutions to do with the business and different avenues to go down and what makes most sense. Like it's that is also technically time on the clock. But yes, I think that this separation between work and life can kind of shoot you in the foot in terms of how much success you can have. Potentially. I might be wrong. Who knows? That's just what I'm kind of thinking at the moment. Then the ultimate question is, well, can everyone do work that they really fucking like? And Naval seems to think that most people can, with this trend in the one-person business model, lean businesses, smaller corporations, people hiring in a gig-style fashion, think Upwork and Fiverr. My brain can't really comprehend at that scale, like if that would be feasible for everyone. But I also know that I'm not talking to literally every human being on the planet Earth. And so that the people interested in this, not an easy path, like to start your own business and especially this like model of solopreneurship and productizing yourself. But I'm guessing the people watching this, like they have this strong desire to work for themselves and have incredible freedom. And so if you have that drive and real hunger, like I believe like you can make it happen for sure, dude. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I don't know if literally every human being will be like able to do this and take this approach to work. Like I'd like to think so, because we're all so unique and different, so it will look totally different to everyone, like in terms of what really interests you and you're obsessed over, etc. But anyway, I know I'm not talking to everyone, and the people I'm talking to are just highly motivated to have freedom and do their own thing and do work that's really meaningful and aligned to them. So there's that. So if you're questioning whether to go down this route, maybe you've been thinking of going out on your own and starting your own thing, and the idea of that really excites you, and it's been a consistent theme throughout your life. Well, not throughout your life, but maybe even over the past 12 to 6 months, like it's been something that's on your mind and you've been thinking about. Like I would really encourage you to start by asking yourself these questions before you do anything else. Like before you even think of looking for additional jobs or like going part-time or starting to freelance or whatever it is, like whatever that avenue looks for you. Before you take any of those steps, I would ask yourself these questions that I mentioned at the start of the episode, because you can't have success on shaky foundations. Maybe you can have success for 6 months, but in terms of the success that we want to have, like you can't have that success on shaky foundations. By knowing yourself deeply and understanding yourself, you set solid foundations. So ask these questions. Dr. Demartini has an amazing quote, and he says something similar to, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. So I find asking myself questions very therapeutic. So I would recommend you do it if you want to. If you don't, then that's totally fine. And to round us out, why do we want any of this? Why is having a successful business important? Why would we put so much effort into taking this holistic approach and like asking ourselves these questions and, really taking the time to think and set this up for ourselves? Why do we care about any of that? Because if we zoom out, why do we do any of this? What is it that I really want out of my work and business? Why do I spend, me personally, why do I spend so much time thinking about what work is really meaningful to me and what work I really want to do and continue to do for a long time? Why do I think about that? Like, why does that even matter? Do I want financial freedom and to live an amazing life? Yes. Why do I want to do that? Well, do I want financial freedom and for my decisions not to be dictated by finances. Yes. Okay. But why do I want that? Well, I want to live an amazing life and have amazing experiences and be able to give back to myself and my family and whoever needs it. Yeah. Okay. But why do you want to do that? Well, because I want to feel good and I want to be happy, and there it is. Because I want to feel good. I want to be happy. I want to feel fulfilled, content. So then it brings us full circle, and it's like, okay, well, making those decisions around our work and business has to be more than a money discussion, has to be more than the margin discussion, than the return on investment discussion, than, how likely is this to sell and blah, blah, blah. Of course, all of that is important, but you can see when you dig down and ask those questions, why? It's because you want to be happy and to live a good life. And so the questions you ask in that initial phase in terms of deciding what work and what business venture you go down, the questions have to be in a much more holistic sense. What do you want your life to look like? How do you want to feel? How do you want your relationships to look? How much free time do you want to have? Do you care for free time? Do you love spending a lot of time with family? How much is a lot of time? These questions are so important because it will dictate and provide a really valuable filter through which we can make decisions and decide on our work, and therefore allow us to have longevity with our work and work on it for a lot of years and have great success and make millions and millions of dollars, of course. So asking yourself, if you think of an idea, asking yourself, am I going to be inspired by it? Do I want to create in and around that subject? Will I be able to continue working on it? Do I see myself working on this in 10 years' time? Am I going to be working 10 hours a day on this? If so, will I love it? Will I have the freedom to travel, move around? Will I have adequate finances to give back to myself, my family, those who need it most? So when we take this frame and we consider why it's important for us to have a successful business and to not be an absolute failure, it makes sense that we would take the holistic approach, getting to know yourself extremely well. What do you value? What are you interested in? What are you obsessed with? What do you spend your free time doing? What do you want your life to look like? Money, finances, family, relationships, etc. It makes sense that you take a holistic approach to put the odds in your favor and have the best chances of having not just success, great success, the ultimate success, whatever that looks like for you. So that's a wrap for this ep. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something from it. You can see that I'm obsessed with this and I spend a lot of time thinking about it because I see I'm putting in the reps now because I see it as so worth it, because I don't want to get to 50 years old or even 40 and still be doing work that I despise and that kills my soul. And then I'm like, well, I may as well continue. I'm going to retire soon. So no, I just really don't want that. So I'm putting in the reps now and they will surely pay off. And if you're relating to my videos, would love to connect. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to get outside, enjoy the Copenhagen sun. It's been snowing the last couple of days, so keen to see that the sun is back out, and I'm just going to go stare at it and hopefully get some more life into me. And I will chat to you in the next episode. See you later. Bye.